Hello. That was Jazz Hands. Hi. Hello. I am very excited because today I have my great, amazing, wonderful, fantastic, hilarious friend, Steve Simeone, on the podcast. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more, but before Steve, the reason Steve is on, not only because he's wonderful, handsome, and amazing, he has a brand new comedy special, Ice Cream for Breakfast, on Dry Bar Comedy. Okay, so you go to drybarcomedy.com, use code Steve Simeone, Steve, Simeone, 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 one word, and you're going to get a week free. Now, if you have a problem with the promo code, you still get a week for free. Here's the important part. You're going to go to drybarcomedy.com. You're going to sign up. You're going to go in. You're going to type in Steve Simeone. It's called Ice Cream for Breakfast. I think it's like 30 minutes. It's hysterical from beginning to end. It's heartfelt. It's fun for the whole family. So please, there's no sponsors on this episode. Just go tell a friend, watch this special for free, and help my friend. That's all I'm asking. I really appreciate it. And it is very fitting that I'm wearing my Jurassic Park shirt because Steve is, if you don't know Steve, which you should know him from Comedy Central. You should know him from The Church. You should know him from The Crab Feast. You should know him from The Honeydew, Are You For Your Skeptic Tank, all of the albums that we did. I helped him edit them, but he recorded them. He is all about family, fun, remembering the good things. We had a podcast called Good Times, and this shirt, not a joke, I've seen 2 elementary students recently wearing this shirt that you can get at Target for $11, and I'm wearing it because it reminds me of Steve and to remember the good times, and it's just it was a good weekend. It's I just got back. It is 11:15 on Sunday night. It is way past my bedtime, but I just had a fire. There's nothing really much better than a fire. Here's my only problem with fire: the bugs and the elements. Is there a way? I guess a fireplace. I was just gonna say, is there a way to have a fire indoors? The problem with the fireplace. Here's what I need. I need a fireplace that is in the middle of the room so we can still sit around it, because I don't like the fireplace against the wall. Plus, you don't really get the full effect. So I need somehow to have like a fire pit, but have 0 chance of bugs. But I actually did okay with the bugs. I had s'mores tonight, which is not diet friendly. But you know what? Here's what I wanted to tell you about. I got my faith in humankind was encouraged this weekend. I went to get dinner at a place called Scales, which is near me. I don't know if I think it's in Millbury. It's near Worcester, and it's a seafood place, and it's cash only, and they have an ATM, but I tried 2 different debit cards, and it didn't work. And I was like, fuck, because it was about to close. The food was ready. It was going to get cold. And I said, hey, man, do you mind? Because it was like $60, and I had 30. I was like, do you mind if I come back tomorrow? And I was like, there's no way. I wouldn't. If I had been working there, I would have said, fuck you, fatty. You're not gonna come back in here. You're going to take your $30 worth of free food and go buy more food. And he was really cool. The ATM, she tried it. The ATM didn't work. That's how you know the place is good, because they had so many people use the ATM that it ran out of money. And he let me do it. He's like, hey, we open back up at 4. We're here at 3. I was there at 3:30 the next day. Made him sweat for 30 minutes, but I gave him a little tip. That's I've always been a good tipper, and I should know better. But one of my best jobs in high school was high school and college a little bit. I worked takeout at a seafood place, and I got $10 an hour, which was great for me. I was getting $7.50 before, and I got $10 an hour plus tips. And little tips, they make a big difference. I usually give everyone, like, people like $1, $2. Not every time, I gotta be honest with takeout, but I do. But I never give like a 5 or a 10. I just don't. I never think about it. And I owed this guy $33, and I was gonna just give him 35. I'm like, but you know what? He took a chance. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm hoping that, like, the fat guy in me is hoping that I gave him $7. I gave him 40 instead of 33. I'm hoping that $7 is gonna buy me into like some super secret club where, like, they give me extra shrimp the next time I go. It won't, but I can't just do something nice to do something nice. But I just want to give a shout out to Scales. If you live in the Central Mass area, very good shrimp. We tried the chowder and the scallops too. I'm not a scallops person, but I heard they're good, and it was just really nice to have someone trust me, and not just like, too bad, so sad. You gotta figure something else out for dinner now. It was just very cool. I also wanted to let you know, thank you again. And if you didn't hear last week, this podcast is changing a little bit. I want you to send in your stories to WWITpod@gmail.com. That's WWITpod@gmail.com. And it can be anything, but I want it to be a time where you said, what the fuck was I what was I thinking? And it can be great. It could be something like, I took a chance and let a chubby guy pay half of his tab, and he came back the next day, and we became best friends, and then toured the country with a new band, or it could be bad ones, like I dated someone and I broke up, and now they're married to Elon Musk. Maybe Johnny Depp is gonna write in. So here's how it's gonna go. You can either write it in, you can send me a voice recording or a video of yourself if you want. You can do it, and just let me know how you want me to address you. Like, if I can use your name or if I should not. If you already sent an email in, and thank you. There's like 10 or 15 people who already did, so I'm really excited about it. There's one that I know specifically about that I'm really excited. And because he told me about it on my Patreon, and he told me the story, so I'm definitely going to do that one. So you can put that out there if you want. If you'd rather be anonymous, I can read it. So please email me, WWITpod@gmail.com. Next Monday is going to be the first version of that, and I'm very it's just funny how things work out, because Steve, I wish I kept track, but I know for a fact, like 2 or 3, probably even more times, Steve was either the last or the first person to do a podcast episode with me. Like, every time we changed a studio in LA, he was usually the last person to record in the studio and the first person to record in the next one. Or like, if we changed equipment, he was always the first one there. And I've known Steve for over a decade. He's an amazing friend, and as good of a person as he is, he's an even better comedian. I promise you I'm not wasting your 30 minutes. I promise you. Go to drybarcomedy.com. Use his name, Steve Simeone, SteveSimeone. That's impressive that I did that in one take. Put that in. You're going to get a week free. Put it in your phone. If you want to cancel it, great. There's other great comedians on there. It's all family friendly, fully clean. You can listen to it at work. You're not going to get in trouble. Do me a favor and do yourself a favor and go check out Steve Simeone, Ice Cream for Breakfast, and enjoy him on this week's What Was I Thinking? Hi, Steve.
Skinny Lee, how are you, buddy?
I wish. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Lee, you look like you lost 20 pounds since I saw you a month ago.
Maybe I've been kind of going back and forth this whole year. I'm getting close. I'm like 5 pounds away from 150. That's what I want to get there.
What are you going to do when you hit that mark?
I don't have for 150. I don't have anything. I have two plans for when I hit what I want to get. My first one is I want to go on like a cool vacation. Like I've always wanted to go like Japan or Italy or something like that. I want to do that.
Yeah.
The other one, which is kind of a joke but kind of serious, but now that he's so famous, I don't know if I can. I had headshots done twice because I was an idiot and thought that like I took a commercial acting class and I thought I was going to be a commercial actor, and
Yeah.
I had Troy Conrad take my headshots.
Yeah.
So I have this idea in my head that when I get down to like 150 pounds, I want to like fly out to wherever Troy is and take like not naked, but you know when like George took like naked.
Yeah, yeah, with the socks on the thing, that's hysterical.
I want to take like boudoir shots with Troy Conrad.
That's hysterical. Troy's famous now, huh?
I know he does. I mean, he's on the road with Gabe. He's on the road with like Bert.
Bert.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, and he was taking pictures for free for like at the Comedy Store for years.
Yeah, it's just that he's so nice. It's weird that you're like, oh yeah, he's famous.
Yeah, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I like when people's hard work pays off and they're still nice.
It's like this podcast was meant to be because I am so excited that your very first special is out. And
Yeah,
that's how I would describe you.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, thanks, dude. I don't even think of it as a special. I'm just like, oh, these people are nice enough to film one of my sets. Like that's what it seems like, and like I'm excited because of the dry bar audience or the people that I want to come to my shows.
Right. It's it just seems like a really good fit, and it's so I want people to go check it out, and I told them about it in the intro, and I'll tell them about it again. But it's called Ice Cream for Breakfast, and it's on Dry Bar Plus. And what you have to do is you have to go to drybarcomedy.com and use code Steve Simeone, your name, and you get a free trial. Perfect.
Yeah, which is cool. So people get a free trial, they get to check it out. Like it's interesting. Like I talked to one of my buddies today, and it's like I have a little group of fans that I'm blessed. I don't really think of them as fans. That's the wrong word. There's a little group of people that are familiar with my stand-up comedy, like a tiny little group. So I kind of feel bad that I didn't put a ton of new material on this dry bar special, but it's because I wanted other people to see the stuff. You know what I mean? Like I have like 3 CDs out there. I have a 4th one ready to go, but a lot of that stuff, none of it's on video. And even if like I got like 1,000 views on something, dry bar could get 1 million on it. And that's what I want. I want families to be able to see it and be like, oh, we want to go see this guy. That'll make me feel good.
And I think A, you deserve it, but B, I think all of your friends who know who you are, your jokes are the kind of jokes that people remember. Like there's just so many. Like I'll just be in situations, and like there's a joke you have about ordering pizza, and I'm not gonna do it, but your brother reacts a certain way, and I won't even be like, I'll just be sitting here, and just the way he reacts, at least for your version of it, will just stick in my head. And to me, as a comedy fan, I think that is like what would probably be the biggest goal for a comedian, is to have a joke really resonate with people. And
it's for sure a compliment. Like I remember once I had jury duty in Los Angeles, which like pretty scary, you know. And they have all these different courtrooms and stuff. Mm-hmm. And this was probably, I don't know, 6, 8 years ago. But there was these guys that were going to go in and give testimony. I forget if they were like homicide detectives or DEA agents. Whatever it was, they were way tougher than me, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like people from movie tough. And the one guy's just staring at me outside the courtroom, and I'm like, mind your business, just to like, and I was like, he was like, hey man, are you a comedian? I was like, yes, sir. And he was like, did you do this bit about you and your brother playing Nintendo, and then your one brother fought your other brother, and you had Mountain Dew and cheese? I was like, yeah. And then he started to do the whole bit for me. And he had seen me do an early version of that out at the Brea Improv. And he even remembered. He was like, I saw you do that like in 2007. I was like, And this was like 2013 when he remembered it. He would have thought about it for 6 years.
Yeah,
Made me feel really good.
it must, and what I think is so not I mean, it is special, but unique about you is like I've been that's why I reached out to Joey. Is I've been like my parents, we would watch stand-up specials as kids. I've always loved stand-up. And sometimes even with like I've been lucky, I mean, I was at the Comedy Store at least once a week. I was one of the coolest parts of me living out there, out in LA.
You know how lucky we are to say that?
Oh, me especially. Yes, I'm extremely lucky. But I would see some people, and as soon as you're done with their show, not even in a negative way to them, you're like, I had fun, but I don't really remember. Nothing sticks out, and I think that your comedy connects with people in a way that is just it's very memorable.
Thank you, buddy. That's a very sweet thing to say.
Well, I mean it, and it's funny just how things work out and how we both left LA pretty much on the same. I remember we were calling each other on
Driving
the
across.
road on the road, and now it's been almost 2 years,
I know.
and you're in Florida, I'm in Massachusetts. But I just saw you. I get to see. Every time I come down, I get to see your mom and your dad.
Yeah. And you were so sweet. You sent my mom flowers for Mother's Day.
I have. It's Mrs. Simone. My mom's still the one. I think it was the first time you met my mom. We went out to Italian food at a terrible place
I
in North
still owe
Hollywood.
her for that.
Oh, and she feels I could get her, but she would kill me for
We
putting her on
went to Little
camera.
Tony's in North Hollywood.
Yep.
And she
And
did a sneaky thing. She pointed to the menu to the waiter like this, and as she did it, the waiter grabbed her credit card.
and you feigned being upset. You were like, oh, I wanted to pay, and she still to this day will get upset that you paid. So and then you were very nice when I wasn't feeling well with COVID, so I had to do something. But it's something that I learned. I definitely learned from you is like those little things make a really big deal. And I could just hear it in your mom's voice. I just did it because I love you and I love your mom. But I could tell that, like, just that a little bit, like $40 really made her day with flowers.
It's funny that you use that expression because I think of Uncle Joey whenever somebody goes, you could just make somebody's day.
Yep.
That's such a beautiful way for me to live my faith. Like if it's all about love, how do you like encourage somebody, make somebody's day? If you can give somebody a compliment, like whatever. Mm-hmm. Like I found I was driving to Miami last Thursday, I guess it was. And you ever just drive by a place and you're like, one day I'm going to eat there? It just
all the time.
So
yeah.
Where I go, like, and it for sure set off my fat guy instincts. Like
spider senses, yeah.
I can't remember the last time my fat guy instincts told me yes, and it was wrong. It's been a long time. I think the best find I ever had with fat guy instincts was Domingo's, where we met for the first time.
Yeah.
I remember vividly driving down Ventura Boulevard because Renazizi was my landlord, and I had to drop off something at the property management company that ran the condo he was letting me stay in for free. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw this Cenzano umbrella, and I saw an Italian flag, and I went, that place is going to be delicious. And I was right. And then last week, I went to drive to see Brett Ernst on Wednesday, who, by the way, is the greatest.
Oh,
you
he's
have
so
to get
funny.
Brett on your podcast.
I would
doing
love to.
So well. He's the next theater comedian. Anyway, I drove by this place. It just said like Mike's Steaks or something, and it was like a drive-in diner with like a neon sign with like a pickup window. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I went there the next night on my way to Miami. I was like, this is God. I get to drive by it again. And the waitress was just so sweet. She was such a nice lady. And the food was excellent. And the service was even better. And she was telling me that it was her grandson was going to graduate 5th grade, I think. So I gave her an extra big tip so she could buy him something nice for his graduation. And it made me feel good, and it made her feel good. And then, it's going to make her grandson feel good. It's a better way to live.
And what do you how do you how do you keep that attitude? I mean, every day there's something terrible happening. Even if you take the news out of it, because I try to avoid it. Every
Yeah.
day someone tries to cut you off. Someone's a jerk to you at the store. How do you keep that positive attitude?
It's a good question. Remember the album that you produced for me where I said years ago, I said, turn off the news and just be loving and kind to each other?
Uh huh.
I think that attitude, for lack of a better term, that perspective is like getting into shape, right? Like you've lost 150 pounds. At first, I'm sure diet and exercise was very, very difficult.
You were there for it.
It's so the desire to get started is so powerful that it'll get you through that yucky part of you know what I mean? It's like really different. But as it starts to become a habit, it gets a little bit easier. Does that
Right.
make sense? But with that said, there are times I get miserable. There are times I scream. Like, um, for me, in order, I try to, if I get, I'm like a baby. If I don't get my nap, I get cranky. Like sometimes I really do. Just I have to like go into cave. I have to go into my cave and
Yeah.
just sort of block out the world completely. I try to pray and stay connected to God. I try to exercise. Have noticed that if I just hooked up my juicer again,
Oh wow.
and if you're getting proper nutrition, exercise, sunlight, prayer, and proper sleep, all of that makes it easier. You have to be careful who you spend your time with. Like I've
Very
noticed
true.
that there are people that I love, but like just to sort, I have this overwhelming desire to be liked and to fit in,
Right.
and like sometimes I'll feel myself like compromising who I am to appease other people, and then I'm like, oh, I just can't have negative people in my life.
And even it's funny that you said that you need to go to your cave because
Oh,
I for 10 years I mean I had you, I had Joey, I had a girlfriend for 5 of it. I had people that I was with, but I also lived alone and was alone a lot. And that can be negative, that can be bad sometimes, but then I coming out here, I'm with my parents. I realized that like I haven't really been alone in 2 years, and I think I need to start being alone a little bit more, like to just kind of like absorb what's happening and like kind
yeah,
of reset. It's weird. It's like
you're
I
probably
like
an
being alone.
introvert. Yeah,
Oh
I'm for sure an introvert.
yeah, I don't even need a test. I don't even know how you test. I've never enjoyed really large group. I can't do
Yeah,
it.
I get panic attacks.
Oh, how how has it been doing comedy again? Have you been enjoying it? Have you been enjoying being on the road a little bit?
Yeah, I think I was burnt out, to be honest with you. Like I really rocked and rolled for about 20 years without taking any break.
Hmm.
Um, and then I got to Florida and things slowed down. And I would do comedy in spurts, but then there were times where like I remember just being like, what do I want to say? Like what's important to me? What's not? I think a lot of what's being expressed in the world right now, whether it's comedy, film, television, and for sure social media, I think a lot of what's being expressed, to me, it's just a new form of pollution.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's pollution. Like it's like this toxic poison thing that I don't want to come into contact with. And when I'm on stage, I'm burnt out. I'm like, what do I really want to say? And I for sure don't want to pollute people's minds. So just recently, I've been popping back up on stage and I've been having so much fun. Like
That's
real fun. Like there's a room that you're gonna have to do. If I ever get to do it again, there's a place in Miami called the Comedy Inn. I
okay.
just got to do it on Friday. This is what makes it so cool. So it's like I guess like suburban Miami. It's south of South Beach, north of the Keys, in a place called like Palmetto Park, maybe.
Okay.
And right off like a normal main strip, there's like this like Quality Inn or something. It doesn't look like much. It's a motel, but it's like the ultimate cool kid speakeasy, hardcore comedy fan room.
Oh,
Imagine
cool.
the original room, but meets a road club. Like it has the energy of a show, but the intimacy of somebody's living room. There's only like 70, 80 people in there, maybe 60. I don't know. Small room, invite only. Shows are sold out, and they have no idea who's on the show.
Oh, cool.
They are just comedy fans. And Mike that runs it, DJs it, puts a great vibe in there. And it was interesting. Like there were a lot of killers on that lineup. And I was like, oh, I don't know. If they like this stuff, I don't know if they're gonna like me, because like there were a lot of bad words and dark stuff flowing. And it's all funny. I'm not
Right.
I mean, look at my best friends. No way I criticize. But I'm just going, I don't know if people are gonna like me if they like this.
Right.
And we rocked them. You know, it was just really, really fun. It was, I don't know, because there was stuff I really wanted to say, you know. And then there was this sweet old guy named Sandy who brought his kids, because he's such a regular there that they know he finds out who's on the lineup. He's like the ultimate comedy nerd. And he was like, was it Brett Ernst that recommended you for this? Because I talked to Brett and we both said you would be perfect for this room. It was Brett Ernst that got you this gig, right? And we started to talk. Sandy was a Cuban Jew, loves Chinese food, brought his kids. He goes, could you do the Chinese food bit for my kids? He goes, that bit is magical. And I was like, I hadn't thought about doing it. And I'm like, that's a bit that has to get put on film. Like if I ever do a special, of course I'm going to do the poo-poo platter thing. What, 10,000 people have seen that, heard that? Like, there's a lot more people that want. Well, there's a lot more Sandys out there, so it made me feel really good that I was mixing brand new stuff in with some greatest hit stuff. Like I felt like I was just playing jazz and connecting, and definitely not polluting.
Right. No, you have positivity throughout your every set that you do. What do you?
Not every.
That I mean, that's I guess that's true.
Off stage where I'm like, screw you guys, I'm giving him. I was good for that once a year.
That must feel good though, a little bit. Just get that off your chest, like just release a little steam.
Yeah, there would be like these LA cool kid crowds, like just not my like. That's why I'm so excited about Dry Bar. I'm like, that's my audience. Like when we did Good Times, remember we would always say, "There's a dad fixing his lawnmower in the garage right now, having laughs with us."
Yep,
that's my audience. You know, a fat kid holding the light for his dad, and they're laughing. That's my crowd.
Right.
But like in LA, sometimes we would have those guys that were like my age dating the 22-year-old model, like coming in with their custom made jeans and vintage Air Jordans and like a lot of plastic surgery. They're the people that need the hug the most. They need it the most, but if they weren't into me, if they're like, oh, real judgmental, smug, goodbye, I walk off stage. You don't deserve the laughs. I mean, that's terrible. And I shouldn't be like that. I should be more understanding and compassionate, but I'm also a human being. And there are times there'll be audiences where I'm like, this just isn't my crowd, man.
Yeah.
Just not. I'm not comedy for cool kids.
No, and it's at least you and you could make them laugh, I'm sure, if you wanted to, but it's not worth your energy. Did you ever do that though? I just imagine like you're kind of like a word superhero, and they don't even know. It's like you're Superman with the thing under your suit. Like, did you ever get in this situation where like you could just and you're a very nice person, but you're a master of words? Like, did you ever have a situation where like you could? Oh, I see it.
Oh yeah, I never want to hurt anybody.
Right? No.
But I will say this because I saw a buddy today. Okay, so today I took my mom out to lunch. We did errands, and then I took her out to lunch. It was like legit the best.
Right.
And this guy walks in who I hadn't seen in probably 4 months now. Wait, when was January? Since January. Yeah, 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
I had jury duty back in January. And this guy came in who was like the coolest guy in the jury. He's a little bit older than me, but his name was also Steve. And I was like, hey, Steve. And then we talked and it was great. And it reminded me, like, I get really nervous because especially now that I live around all normal people, it's weird to say you're a comedian.
Really?
It's not like LA. Like people are like, what? But what do you do to make money? I'm like, I do comedy. They're like, how is it? Like, they don't even understand it, right?
Oh, I can't imagine. Yeah, of course.
But then when I did jury duty, I didn't want anybody to know. I was just minding my own business, being really quiet. But then, like, of course, I got picked for the jury. And then you start to spend time with people. And then, like, just as a form of community service, you want to keep everybody loose. So then I'd start to have laughs. And next thing you know, like, people aren't used to having real laughs. Like, it's hard. We're so blessed, Lee, that we laugh every day, but normal people don't. Normal grown-ups don't.
Right.
And then within 3 days of me just trying to be polite and keep everybody loose, people would just every day stare at me and be like, what's he going to do now? And then, like, even the people in the court, the judge, the bailiff, they're like, we saw your YouTube. You're great. You're a real comedian. What's this juror doing? How's our comedian? And I was just like, oh, but it made me feel good that people were happy. Like,
Yeah.
that's the best, that we get to make people happy.
What
Really
what do you think I should do with like for stand? Because I don't think I'll ever be like a touring comedian. Who knows? But I do. I do miss it. I do miss.
That's your answer.
I just
get on stage.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Get on stage.
It definitely was. Like you saw the first time I ever did stand up. I'll never at like the Dark Horse or something with Joey and Agostino, and you recorded it for me, and it was terrible. But you were so. It was in like Reseda. Remember they had a s'mores waffle. Right? Yeah.
Oh, it was off of Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But that's not the set I remember. The set I remember is you walking out to a packed Wilbur Theater and crushing.
That was a good night.
Crushing.
Do you have a
that's the thing.
That's I can't even. I got lucky. I had a few fun sets. I got to do the Comedy Store a couple times on Skylar Stone's show, but that set that night is probably my number one night in comedy by far. Mainly because my mom got to see it, and I remember that she laughed, and I could hear her laugh. But it was. I think that's what makes me miss it, because there's a lot of like I did stand up for a little bit out here in Boston, and it's nothing against it, but it's just not the same. Like I miss my friends in LA. I'm doing open mics. I'm not doing the Wilbur, and it just wasn't the same. But like, do you have? I'm sure you have a lot more than me. But do you have like a night that sticks out to you? If you had like one night of stand up comedy that like made your career.
I remember getting booed off stage in San Diego by like 1,000 people.
And that's a positive thing?
Yeah, because you know what it was, Lee? It wasn't that bad.
Wow. Why did they all boo you off stage?
Well, I'll give you the 3-minute version of the story.
Okay.
So, like, we talked about like how to keep a positive mental attitude, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Like for me, like I really do have to sort of have my force field on, like, especially to perform. Like I have to be properly rested. I have to really want to do it. And granted, this was probably 20 years ago. I think it was like 2003 when this happened, 2002-ish. It was early on. And I didn't have a car, and I had to borrow my roommate's car to drive down. And the 2.5 hours I thought it was going to take me to get down to San Diego took 8.
Oh.
And I'm sort of like trying to crash backstage to get a little nap in before the show. That doesn't happen. The audience, I didn't have the skill set to entertain them at that time. They were a little thuggish. I'll just put it like that. And the dude that went on in front of me, like I redid a bit about like, what if Dora the Explorer was a gangster or something?
Okay.
And the place went crazy. I couldn't follow it. And like, cause at the time, like most of my comedy experience was opening up for Paulie. So, long story short, I start to bomb. I hear the first boo. I start to panic. Then everybody starts to boo. Then I go to my closer. I'm 6, 7 minutes in, and I go to the bit that I think will kill the most, and it gets nothing.
Oh.
And then I really thought somebody was going to stand up and just go, "Get him!" Like that's what I thought. Like I thought one person was going to say, "Get him," and 1,000 people were going to storm the stage. And when I say 1,000, maybe it was 700. It was a huge crowd for me at the time. But that didn't happen. Nobody threw anything. Nobody punched me in the face. I was panicking so bad I had an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
For real. I saw myself bombing on stage. And then like my soul came back into my body, and then I went, oh, this isn't so bad. Like they're just not laughing. Does that make sense? And then in those instances, like I know it's never good for me on stage if I'm thinking. I know I'm having a good set when it feels like time traveling, where you walk out and then the light comes on. You're like, I don't know what I said. I don't know what bits I did, but we just 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, just flew by. This was the opposite of that. I was completely in my head. I was completely thinking. And when I came back and I started to realize like, this isn't so bad, I went, being a comedian is the best job in the world. Because when you have a bad day, the only thing that happens is people don't laugh.
Right.
And
that doesn't feel good though. I mean, I had people
this
not
is what
laugh.
felt good, Lee. I went, oh, well, if this is what happens when none of it works and it's not that bad, just say what you want to say on stage and don't say what you think they want to hear. It was the beginning of that for me.
And
where it was just like,
how far were you into comedy at that point?
Well, I'd done some open mics in Philly before I left, but I was a good 3 years of open mics in LA at that point.
Got it. And how do you, because like when I say I'm never going to be a touring comedian, I think there is a lot of luck to it. You do have to put a lot of hard work into it, but there's a lot of funny people who never get to be seen. But it's a mixture of me being, I call it realistic, but it's also kind of being scared. I don't have it in me, I don't think, to be like as broke as I would be for as long as I'd be broke if I really like put 100% into doing comedy. How did you not get like a full-time job at any point?
The Comedy Store.
What about it?
By the Comedy Store, I mean, like, here's the thing that I look back and I don't know how it was the grace of God, okay? Like, for real. Because it wasn't just, like, I was so poor, and it was bad. Like, I mean, I didn't have a car. I had to share a 1-bedroom apartment. It sucked. Like, it all sucked. But I look back, dude, I was only getting 3 minutes of stage time for my first 8 years in LA.
Jesus.
So it was like being a tree that wasn't getting sunlight or water.
Right.
You know? Like it sucked. Like Pauly Shore was nice enough to bring me out on the road with him. And like it would be the weirdest thing that if we did a 2-week run or a 3-week run, some summers we'd be gone for 3 weeks. At the beginning, I wouldn't have a set. Then by the end of the 3 weeks, I'd be killing for 50 because you're getting up twice a night for 3 weeks in a row. And I was so hungry for the stage time. And then I'd have to come back and go back to 3 minutes. It was so frustrating, so awful. I definitely think it was God that sustained me through my friends. And that's what I mean when I say the Comedy Store. Because I wasn't getting stage time at the Comedy Store or money. But what I got was support. Like I got, I had Uncle Joey to talk to. I had Ari to talk to. I had Dave Mishevitz to talk to. Like I had the support of my friends, and that's how you get through life, man.
And that's something that I think you're really good at, is being a great friend. And what stood out to me about your special coming out was how many people I saw tweet about it and put it on Instagram. And
yeah, it was crazy.
And I've been around for a little bit. I get emails from people who I've never met asking me to tweet something or put something out, and for the most, it's not like I wish I had a little bit of that in me to be a little bit more like out there and be like, hey, will you do this for me?
I can't do it.
I know for a fact you didn't ask anybody to do
I didn't
anything.
ask anybody.
And people they just love you so much that they were so happy to see you succeed. And
Mhm.
it's, I, I wish I had more of that in me is being as good of a friend as you are. Cause
Oh, you do. You're 100%. Lee,
meh.
you're loved. You're 100%. We're so similar. I think the reason why I just clicked so much with you and Joey is that I'm in the middle of you guys. I relate so much to you, and I also relate so much to Joey. And I'm like, age wise, I'm like in the middle of you guys. So it's like, you're a tremendous friend. Everybody loves you for a reason.
Well,
And
thank
we used
you.
to say it on Good Times. Remember, because people that's what they would ask. I go, Steve, how do you get friends? And I say, if you want good friends, be a good friend. It's that simple. Just be the person you want to meet.
Right. And I get maybe I'm hard on myself. See, I look at
You are.
myself and I'm like, oh, I messed up at this thing. I wasn't a good friend here. I could have done this.
All
And I'll
right, let
get
me tell you one of the best stories I ever heard.
okay.
Okay. All right. So I don't know. This is probably 15 years ago, maybe. At least 10. And I was living in Santa Monica, and I just started to go back to church because like I had to. Like there are people that are like, oh, I don't believe it. The only reason I'm looking over here is because I'm watching the Phillies Braves game. That's it.
Okay,
Okay,
that's fine.
I'm focused on you. So I had to start going back to church, and I understand that there's people that are like I don't believe, or this is my problem with organized religion. I'll pray for you. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. Like that, I get it. But me personally, I needed it. Okay. And one of the best homilies, they're called, I ever heard from this priest. He told a story. He was like this nerd old guy. He was the best. And he would ride his bike early in the morning. And he said one morning he was riding his bike and this guy was jogging and he stopped him. And he was like, Father, I just want to thank you so much. About 8 years ago, when I was going through this and this and this, you told me to do this and this and this, and everything worked out. And I can't thank you enough. You're the best, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy takes off. And the priest was like, I had no idea who he was. None. He goes, I don't remember what happened 8 years ago. I don't know what he was talking about. He goes, nothing. He goes, but let me tell you something. Had I done something wrong to that guy 8 years ago, I would have thought about it every day. And that stayed with me. Like I'm like you, Lee. Like you have to let it go. You have to trust that you're forgiven. You have to trust that people love you, that you're loved. And I think that's the weirdest thing in life sometimes, just accepting love, It's weird.
It is, and it's hard. I'm almost a little bit jealous of people who don't have like that. I don't know if it's anxiety or what it's called, but I have a hard time like the fact that people still to this day will like listen to the church or listen to Good Times doesn't really make sense in my head. Like I know we did those episodes. I know the whole point was for people to listen, but
Yeah.
it doesn't
Right
really
there.
make sense that people liked what I did.
Yeah, it's all weird.
It's
And it's
very
like,
weird.
how can I explain this? I think it's for sure, it's not important. It's necessary to be humble. It's like, I don't think you're ever going to get any great work done, or you're never going to have a full life unless you have, I think like ego is poison.
Mm-hmm.
So humility is to sit I view humility as the freeway. And the more humble you are, the more blessings and the more lives you can affect.
That
So
makes sense.
humility is, the more lanes of humility you have, the more cars of blessings that can travel. But being humble doesn't mean that you suck.
Right. Okay.
Like I think that's a popular misconception where you're like, I'm so humble, I'm gonna go kill myself. Like I think negative thoughts are the ultimate joy killer. And I think that's what the devil is. I think that's one of the devil's favorite tricks, is to keep people miserable with negative thoughts. And it's not the truth, you
Right.
know? And the truth is that you're loved, that you're talented, and that's great. But does that mean you should be a smug jerk? No. But that
Right.
doesn't mean you should deny your talents and deny the joy that you bring in people's lives, and know that you're loved and appreciated and necessary. Like, I think that's healthy. There's a healthy humility, you know?
Absolutely. And I think I don't even think that this is something that you consciously do, but I mean, you tell a lot of stories. You don't only tell stories, but you tell a lot of stories. And I think a lot of people, myself included, will look back at my childhood or my life and be like, oh, no one liked me, or it was a terrible, like, I had no fun. And then I think what your stories do is, like, even, I'm sure your childhood wasn't all sunshine and happiness, but you look back at some of these stories and you do such a good job of, like, bringing people there, that, like, it reminds them that, oh yeah, I did have a, like, you know what, maybe this sucked, but I had this one good thing happen.
Yes, and that's the perspective. It's all perspective, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to. Many years ago, I read an interview with Jim Carrey, right? And like, I was so crazy and broken and needy and sad when I moved to Los Angeles. Okay, like, the joke I'm doing now is that nobody moves to LA happy.
Yeah.
That you move to LA and your attitude is like, I'll show you. I'll show you all. You
Yep.
don't think I'm special? I'm special. And that it's very personal for me, because that's where I was. And I wanted to be like Jim Carrey. Like, I was so broken that in order to feel lovable, I needed to be the biggest star in the world.
Yep.
And so any interview with Jim Carrey, I would read. And it's like, I would read about his journey at the Comedy Store, and that was one of the many reasons why getting Mitzi Shore's approval was so important to me. And Jim Carrey had said something. He was interviewed shortly after Rodney Dangerfield died, and he talked about how miserable, sadly, how miserable Rodney was towards the end, like the opposite of happy. And he said the problem is, when you look at what's funny with something, you have to figure out what's wrong with it. He said
Oh.
pointing out what's wrong is where the humor comes from. And according to Jim Carrey, in that interview at that time, 20 years ago, I'm not saying this is how he thinks now, or if I'm even remembering it properly. That's the thing that sucks about podcasts. It's like you always have to give a verbal disclaimer. I remember it. He had said the problem with that happened to Rodney was, when you train your brain to think comedically, and you train your brain to think about what's wrong with something, that over a lifetime, thinking that way is going to make you miserable. And I was a young comic, and I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the opposite of that. I'm going to try to point out what's right with stuff. And I'm going to try to say, yeah, it all sucks, but remember this didn't suck. And my mission is to sort of remind people that life is worth living, that there's a joy. And I think we've forgotten that in our society. We're so used to all that pollution I was talking about, whether it's movies, television, podcasts, comedy, whatever it is, it's pollution. And 99% of it is telling you that everything sucks. And I want to be the opposite of that.
I think you do a great job of it, Steve. I think I know I'm very lucky to have had you in my life for as long as I have, to have had as many experiences with you, to get to the one I would love to do, that room you said in Miami. The one room I want to do one more time with you is the La Jolla Comedy Store, because the last time I was there, I bombed so bad because I said, welcome to the stage, Lee Syatt, and they left the lights on, and I just bombed so hard in front of my mom. It was like the exact opposite of the Wilbur, but I
Was that before or after the Wilbur?
no, that was way after. That was the last time I ever did a La Jolla Comedy Store. That's why I want to do it one more time with you and just be like, oh, I need
All
to,
right.
yeah.
You got to get Mike Vinn on it. I'll reach
Oh,
out to him.
yeah.
Maybe that's where I'll record the next CD or something.
I would love that.
Out
But
in La Jolla, shout out to Don Carlos.
oh,
Best burritos in the land.
how's he doing? Is he doing good?
Oh, I got to tell you, he did the coolest thing.
Oh, good. Okay.
I just talked to him yesterday, and he is an angel, a harbinger of joy. So anyway, he's got the little guys. He's got a little boy and a little girl. And COVID's been tough, on the families and stuff. And the little guy couldn't have a proper birthday party for like 2 years.
Oh,
So what he did is he invited every kid in his not just his class, but the whole grade. So there's 2 classrooms, 80 kids. He had like 300 people there with parents and every brothers and sisters. They blew it out. The ultimate birthday party. But what he did that was so cool is that he let everybody know that it was all of their birthday parties for all the kids there.
oh, that's nice.
They did a pinata every hour on the hour. They had live music. They had magicians. They killed it.
That's a great. That should be on the news. So why doesn't the news have that story?
Right.
That's amazing. I love it. Well, Steve, I know it's late. And I want you to watch the Phillies beat the Braves. Hopefully, I appreciate you coming on. This is coming out this week. I know you have Denver coming up.
Yeah, Denver the first weekend in June, 3rd, 4th, 5th. I think I'm flying to Texas this weekend, but that if I do anything, it would just be a private show. And then I'm thinking hopping on at the comedy. If I'm already in Texas, I might fly from Texas to the Comedy Store for a couple days. And then Denver, Comedy Works. It's such a good room. I just want to bring my A game and crush it. Denver, then after that, I'm doing a little tiny theater in a place called Newport Richey, Florida, with the folks over at Side Splitters, which is awesome. And then I know in August with Soul Joe's, I'm doing 3 different shows. And one of them on a Sunday night, I'm going to be what we say in Philly, down the shore. I'm going to be at the beach on a Sunday night. So that's going to be fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool. And go to drybarcomedy.com and use code Steve Simeone when you're signing up. I've already done it. So you have to go to get my free trial, and then right at the bottom it says promo code. Put Steve Simeone right there, and you're gonna get a free trial, and you're gonna get to see Steve's new special, Ice Cream for Breakfast. And it's I love you, buddy. Thank you for doing this.
I love you too,
And
Lee. Keep up the great work, and I hope to see you soon. And if I book La Jolla, you're coming with me, okay?
100%. I'll be there no matter what.
Yeah, dude, just get on stage. Don't overthink it.
I have to. I will.
All right, I love you, buddy. Send my best to your mom.
I will, buddy. Thank you. Thank you very much to Steve Simeone. Please go give him a follow. I realize I didn't tell you this in the beginning. His Twitter is at Steve Simeone. His Instagram is Steve Simeone Comedy. And his you should go to Dry Bar Comedy. That's drybarcomedy.com. You're gonna click Start Free Trial on the right hand side where it asks for a promo code. Put in Steve Simeone and go watch Ice Cream for Breakfast. And you know what? Do it while you're eating ice cream for breakfast. If you have a day off today, great. Do that. If you don't, thank you very much for working, for doing your part. I'm going to enjoy my day off. I love all of you. Please do me a favor and email your What Was I Thinking stories to WWITpod@gmail.com. Again, next week will be the first version of that. I hope you have a wonderful day, an even better week, and I will see you next week on What Was I Thinking.